Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. So, this story begins back in February of 2018, February 21st to be exact, when Jason Krebsbach of yakface.com posted a story saying that he had found in his routine patent trademark registration searches, he found a listing for Star Wars Resistance, quote unquote, for toys, games, playthings, and all the sorts of things that you might buy at a store that has the wonderful logo for whatever is coming out. And it was posited back then that Star Wars Resistance would be the name of the next animated series after the end of Star Wars Rebels. Well, it has been officially confirmed today. StarWars.com put out the announcement that Star Wars Resistance is an anime-inspired series that's happening. So that's going to be the new animation style. It's going to have an anime-like look to it. And it will take place in the years leading up to The Force Awakens. Now, that means that it's a 6-year time period because the Resistance wasn't started until 6 years before The Force Awakens. That was at the end of the novel Star Wars Bloodline by Claudia Gray. So we have a time frame within which it's working. It is not the only story that has been told within that time frame. There have been a couple of others told within that 6-year time frame. For example, the series of novellas Before the Awakening, or the collection of novellas, I should say, by Greg Rucka, that features Poe and Finn and Rey and what they were up to in the months and weeks leading up to the events of The Force Awakens. The Poe Dameron comic book series also included a span of time that takes place before The Force Awakens as well. So it's not an entirely unexplored area of time, but largely unexplored to be sure. Now, as far as the characters and the overall idea of the show, this is what we know so far. It's an animated series about Kazuda Xiono. We are working on the pronunciation. That's X-I-O-N-O, Xiono perhaps. A young pilot recruited by the Resistance and tasked with a top secret mission to spy on the growing threat of the First Order. And it's going to premiere in the fall of 2018 on the Disney Channel and then move over to Disney XD for its regular run. We don't know when in the fall. We just know, quote, the fall, and that's it. We've also been told that there will be guest voiced appearances from Poe Dameron himself, Oscar Isaac, and Captain Phasma herself, Gwendolyn Christie, as part of this series. Those are the only two characters from these new sequel movies that we know about so far. Oh, except for one other one, BB-8. BB-8 will be appearing in this as well. And we don't know who is playing Kazuda at this moment, but based on the way that they list the voice actors that will be involved in this, it seems like Christopher Sean, who is best known, I guess, for Days of Our Lives, that's the thing that they list for him as a main credit. Christopher Sean appears to be the person who will be the voice actor for the main character. Again, this is just because they're listing his name first, so, don't know for sure. Also listed are Susie McGrath of EastEnders, Scott Lawrence from Legion, Myrna Velasco from Elena of Avalor, Josh Brenner from Silicon Valley, Donald Faison from Scrubs, and he, of course, was at the finale screening for Star Wars Rebels, and I kind of wondered, why he was there at the time. Well, that would explain it. He's not just a rabid Star Wars fan, he's also involved in this new project. Also, Bobby Moynihan, they list his credit as DuckTales, but this is the Bobby Moynihan you know from Saturday Night Live, so there's that. Also Jim Rash from Community and Rachel Butera from Tammy's Tiny Tea Time. So there you go. Try saying that 5 times fast. So those are the folks that we know that are involved from the front-facing, if you will, side of the project, the characters that we're going to interact with on a weekly basis. Behind the scenes, the name they've given us is Dave Filoni. It's created by him. So here's his deal. He says, the idea for Star Wars Resistance came out of my interest in World War II aircraft and fighter pilots. My grandfather was a pilot, and my uncle flew and restored planes, so that's a big influence on me. And then he also says there's a long history of high-speed racing in Star Wars, and I think we've captured that sense of excitement in an anime-inspired style, which is something the entire team has been wanting to do for a long time, quote unquote. The series is also going to be executive produced by Athena Portillo, my apologies on that pronunciation. She was involved with Clone Wars and Rebels. Justin Ridge, who is also involved with both Clone Wars and Rebels. And Brandon Auman, who is a newcomer to the Star Wars family. He worked on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, also being art directed by Amy Beth Christensen, and she, of course, was involved with Rebels and Clone Wars too. Now, we've done some digging, and there have been a few folks posting on Twitter who have also said that they are involved with Star Wars Resistance as well, and that would be 3 writers, specifically including Kevin Burke, Chris Wyatt, Doc Wyatt as he's apparently nicknamed, and Gavin, and I'm gonna botch Gavin's name, is Hignite or Hignite, Hignight. Gavin, my apologies for the mispronunciation, but those three folks are also writing on the series. I did see a reference on Twitter to Carrie Ann Beck being involved as well, but didn't see it, like, I presume she's involved, and I've got her on a Star Wars Resistance list on Twitter, so if you check out sw7x7.com/podcast and look at the lists that we've created on Twitter, there is a Star Wars Resistance list which is capturing all of these folks as we can find them. So there you go. Henry Gilroy, however, is not involved. Henry Gilroy was involved on Star Wars Rebels, of course, and he has come out and said that no, he is not involved with this particular series. So don't necessarily know what he's up to. I did see a suggestion somewhere, though, that it's possible this is not the only animated series that Lucasfilm is working on right now. That would be rather a shock and a surprise to me, but you know, hey, anything's possible in this amazing new world of Star Wars riches, you know, the bounty of content that we're getting from the Star Wars folks. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not necessarily on board with that idea just yet. Not saying that I wouldn't want to see multiple animated series going at the same time. I'm just saying that I'm not sure that they are staffed up to handle that just yet. You know, they've got of live action series they got to get going with Jon Favreau. They've got the movies in the works and all that. So yeah, I think there's only so far they can push that production envelope. We'll see, but at the moment it is just this one announcement. And the only other thing that we can try to draw information from is the big logo picture that they gave us for this that says Star Wars Resistance and has BB-8 peeking out from the side. There is something that looks like a stylized X-Wing fighter on there. I say stylized because this is supposed to be an anime-inspired series, and that's going to be the, you know, the creative style that we see the visuals in. So it's hard to make a snap judgment about the X-Wing that we see on this particular logo. It could be just a regular T-65 X-Wing, it could be a T-70, but the shape of it is a little bit different. And the front nose of it as well, it's a little bit hard to tell whether that's a traditional nose with a little shuttle of some kind flying underneath the thing, or whether that has actually some sort of attachment to the front nose cone of the X-Wing fighter. Maybe it's some sort of additional sensor package or something like that. Maybe it's a special type of X-Wing. I don't know, it kind of reminded me of the first Phantom, the old Phantom from Star Wars Rebels. Was it the first one? I think it was the first one, yeah. So that one that got destroyed early on in the series, it looks a bit like that shuttle, so it made me think that maybe it wasn't necessarily part of the X-Wing, it just happened to be flying right underneath the darn thing. But I think time will have to tell on that one. And for now, that is going to do it as far as Star Wars Resistance, the big announcement. We will keep an eye out in the coming days to find out what more we're going to learn as people start saying, hey, now I can talk about Star Wars Resistance, now I can talk about Star Wars Resistance, and more details start to spill. But for now, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for tuning in, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.